She's sitting next to him to make sure he behaves himself. But I relate a lot to Jesse's story. You know, I started off very humble beginnings as well, adopted by 2 school teachers. But they always raised me to believe that if I worked hard, I could do anything in Canada. That I'd have a great life. In fact, that anybody who got through school and got a job could afford a nice house on a safe street. My wife was able to buy her house in her 20s. That was before me, so I can't take any credit for that. And that wasn't that long ago. It was about 13 years ago. And a lot of neighborhoods around here, people didn't even need to lock their doors not long ago because it was so safe and tranquil and even uneventful. But how things have changed. After this lost Liberal decade, crime and chaos is raging out of control. Young people can't go and play soccer until their parents have formed a row and walked the distance to make sure that the soccer field is not filled with crack pipes and syringes. Yes, there's more and more homeless, you're right. Homelessness is up at record highs across the country. Homeless encampments now replace what were once tranquil, beautiful playgrounds for children. His plan is to make it even worse. Mark Carney's plan is to do exactly what Trudeau did on steroids. More spending, more taxes, more soft on crime. We can't afford 4 more years of the Liberals. We need a change.
100 million people this guy wants.
I love you too. That's what we're fighting for. For you and your family to have change in this country. In fact, the question that he asked about Mark Carney, Mr. Carney, he adopted Justin Trudeau's election platform. You believe this? Literally verbatim. It was written for Trudeau before the former Prime Minister had stepped down. And when Carney took over, they opened the document and they did Control F and they simply swapped out the name Trudeau for Carney. And they said that's change. Well, maybe it's a change in the spelling, but it's not a change in the plan. You know, Trudeau had planned to add over $100 billion of additional debt over the next 4 years. Along comes Mark Carney and says he wants to stack another $130 billion on top of that. So you combine the Trudeau plan, with Carney's promises, you get $250 billion of additional debt added that will drive up the cost of food, gas, and interest payments on our families. It'll mean life becomes even more expensive, and our economy is under even greater risk. In fact, you know, it devalues our dollar, exactly right. By spending money we don't have on things we don't need, it devalues the purchasing power of your money, just like they've done for the last 10 years of Liberal government. My friends, after the lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, we cannot afford a 4th Liberal term. We need a change with a new Conservative government that will bring home affordability and safety for all of our people. And now, if you want to know what the country will look like after this government, if this government, God forbid, is reelected to a 4th Liberal term, then look no further than the report that they published. They call it the Social Mobility in Question, Future Lives Report. There's a section, it's called 2040, More Snakes Than Ladders. That's a quote. Can you imagine that? What a quote. It's a section on what life is going to be like in 2040. More snakes than ladders. You've got it. It's a game to them. That's right. They think that they can play games with your life and your future, and the food and the homes that you buy and the crime that is in your street. For them, it's all just a theory. Let me read directly from this report. In 2040, upward mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own hard work. However, many worry about sliding down the social order. Now, that's a lot of bureaucraties, but let's just translate it into plain language. No matter how hard you work, you can't get ahead and you'll probably fall further behind. Then they say in 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Most new homeowners get help from family members. Some take out intergenerational mortgages and have several generations of families living together. Now, let's be clear about this. They're saying that by 2040, instead of inheriting wealth from your older generation, you're going to inherit a mortgage that is going to take several generations to pay off the same mortgage. In Canada, we used to pay off mortgages in 25 years. So you could be mortgage-free in your 50s and enjoy a wonderful retirement. How quickly that has changed after the lost Liberal decade, and they see it getting even worse, where, quote, people see inheritance as the only reliable way to get ahead. People rarely mix with others of different socioeconomic status. In other words, there's a tiny group of very wealthy people that are separate and above, and everyone else works to pay the bills of the country. Capital investment is in new enterprises may concentrate in the hands of a small number of very wealthy people. Property ownership, and by extension wealth, may become even more concentrated if younger generations abandon the idea of single-family dwellings in favor of renting or forming alternative households. And finally, they go on to say, more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health. It goes so far to say that by 2040, food will be so expensive that people will not even bother going to the grocery store anymore because they know they won't be able to afford it. So how will they eat? Well, I'm going to quote again. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage in public lands and waterways without reference to regulations.
North Korea!
So, and this after they want to ban hunting rifles. So I guess you got to be pretty good at archery. Does anybody know how to do some archery? You better learn, because under the Liberal plan, that's the only way you're going to have a meal on your plate. My friends, after the lost Liberal decade, a lot of people would say that what I've just described here is already the case and getting worse. But it doesn't have to be this way. We in Canada believe in having hope. Hope for a better day. Hope for affordable food. Hope to restore the Canadian promise. Hope for a change.
Après la décennie perdue. Bring it home. Après la décennie perdue des libéraux, des coups et la criminalité